Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. Thanks for joining us. We'll start at exactly 3 o'clock. So if you're coming in early, that's great. We'll start at 3 o'clock. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. Thanks for joining us. All right, looks like we already have 106 people here in the room. So for those of you who are here, please let us know, where are you joining from? Again, it's nice to um, be encountering people from different places this month, especially a lot of teachers that we've never had in our community before are joining, because we're dedicating this month to teachers especially. So let us know where you're calling us from. I'm calling from QC and it's raining right now, medyo makulog. So if you hear the thunder behind the scenes, that's because in QC it's raining right now. All right, so it looks like, si Geraldine is from General Santos, Christine's from La Trinidad, Joyce from Quezon, Cheska's from Agusan del Sur. So ang layo ng mga naabot natin, no? Hello, everyone. So welcome. No matter from what part of the world you're in right now, you're very welcome. And we're so glad that you made the time to join us today. Joyce is from Albay. And wow, 2 people na from General Santos, pati si Cliff. And Neil is from Pasig, from Manila Titana Colleges. So nice to have all of you here joining us today. We're gonna start in 2 minutes. We've also shared the live stream on YouTube. So if you wanted to rewatch this or share that with other colleagues of yours, we'll share our YouTube link on this later. Charles is from Makati. Hello. And it's raining also in Taguig, according to Pauline. All right, welcome everyone. So our webinar today is supporting teacher well-being, empowering with a PERMA-V framework, and it's going to be super exciting. So to those of you who don't know us yet, we're Positive Workplaces, and our mission is to co-create cultures that enhance the well-being of the Filipino workforce. So just some reminders before we start. Have another device or be ready to go to another link. We've made, Gio has designed this to be extra interactive using Mentimeter. And all participants, although you're initially on mute, please share your ideas, your thoughts, your initial questions on the chat box. We love hearing your comments on the chat box. And later on, we're going to do a Q&A with Gio using Pigeonhole. So we'll share the link for that later. And if later on you want to raise your hand as well, please do that. And at the end of this, you will get a certificate. Just don't forget to answer the post-evaluation. So in Positive Workplaces, our mission is to co-create cultures that enhance the well-being of the Filipino workforce. This month, we focused on the well-being of teachers, and we believe this is done through the positivity ripple. It starts with you leading yourself, and then when you know more, you can lead others, and together you would be leading cultures and creating positive workplaces. So I'm Nikki. I'm just going to be your moderator for today. And I have the pleasure to introduce to you our special guest, who's actually a member of Positive Workplaces. So Jericho Kapinpin, or Gio as we like to call him, has been the lead associate for general HR operations and an entrepreneur before coming into Positive Workplaces. And because of his desire to learn more about positive psychology and to close the gaps between theory and practice, he started learning more about it and has done a number of speaking engagements about well-being. He is currently taking a certification on applied positive psychology from the Flourishing Center in New York. And in Positive Workplaces, he's designing courses to make well-being accessible to everyone. So Gio, I'm so grateful that you're here and facilitating this webinar for all of us today. I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Nikki. A wonderful afternoon to everybody. I'm really happy to be here as part of the mission of positive workplaces. Today is such a perfect day to learn about how we can lead ourselves, especially with well-being. So let me share my screen quickly so that we can get on with our session for today. All right. So for our session today, this will be our learning roadmap. We'll be talking about why is well-being support very important for us, and then we'll also find out now what is well-being, and then of course, at the end of all our discussion, it's very important now to really apply how can we improve our well-being. So to start things off, let's start with a check-in. All right. So our check-in for today is in the last 24 hours, how did you generally feel? So we'll have our tech supports Alma and Rafi sending in our Menti link for today. If you aren't able to access Menti, you can look at our screen. No, we'll have 6 different options to choose from to clearly express how you're feeling right now or in the past 24 hours. Now we'll be taking a look as well in our Menti, how people are responding. So as we take a look at people coming in and responding, no, Nikki, how about you? How are you feeling in the last 24 hours?
Definitely feeling that number one. I have that vibe na parang I have such big plans and I have my coffee and my little working desk to help me out. How about you, Gio?
Yeah, that's beautiful. I totally feel the same way, Nikki. No, na yun. It feels like the world is so big and there's so much to share, and I'm just very excited in front of my computer being able to talk about something that I'm very passionate about. And it seems like a lot of people are sharing the same sentiment, Nikki, that they are also feeling the last 24 hours, just happily sitting on their desk. And then we have a lot of people also saying that they're feeling like they need help. No, there's that big help sign on their forehead. Na, there's a sense of panic. Some people also responded with 6. Yung this guy sitting on the push cart. No, I'm not really sure how expressive that is of how they're feeling, but I'm pretty sure this kind of encapsulates just sort of like a helplessness or just waiting idly by. So yeah, that's really interesting. And then of course you have some people from confused screaming, wanting to bite their laptop, or just like screaming on top of the world that hey, I have anxiety. Accept me as I am that way. So we'll do a more specific check-in now. And this is now reflecting on your experience in the pandemic. Okay. So our next prompt is how have you been feeling with working online during the pandemic? All right. And then so you get to type in your response in Menti, right? Okay. Someone is feeling meh about their work. I can totally agree with you. Sometimes that exactly feels that way. Oh, I love definitely that answer of exhausted. No, of course, a lot of people are saying exhausted, burned out, mind-boggling. No, exactly. It's very mentally draining. We're navigating new territory, and it feels really na there's just so much going on. There's one very interesting one that I can also totally relate with. A lot of positive workplaces team members are feeling this back pain. Diba? Nakaupo tayo buong araw, and it really feels na we need to stretch a little bit. Productive. I really like this answer because there is also that capacity to be productive in an online setup, right? So yeah, a lot of feelings of exhausted, languishing, heavy, and stressed. Okay, and I really like this one to be like Sleeping Beauty. No, kailangan din ng pahinga with all of what's going on. And what's actually happening here is that your experiences are very similar to what a lot of teachers are experiencing around the world and in the Philippines. No? So there's actually a recent study about how people have been affected by the pandemic. And you can see here on the leftmost side of the screen, the issues with submitting work that had increased, no? And feeling of working disengagement, yung draining, hindi na nakakatuwa magtrabaho. Right? I'm pretty sure some of you are already relating with that idea, no? Of course, bumaba naman yung feelings of acceptance na we're so detached and we feel like we're all alone in navigating this new territory. And of course, relating to others and even the willingness to teach lowered, no? When you combine all of those together, what happens here is that people will feel that work anxiety and stress and just overall discontentment. Parang hindi na nakakatuwa yung sitwasyon natin. If anything, it feels like we should be going back to our normal before the pandemic. And if we were to look at now the common experiences of the teachers here in the Philippines, there's actually a research in Samar to interview teachers on how they were feeling about the pandemic, no? And their work has shown that they feel very unfamiliar with the online setting. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are navigating that territory na ang daming kailangang bagong i-master when it comes to doing our work, diba? And of course, kasama na yung increased workload. With all the stress of that's going on, you pile onto it all the amount of work that needs to be added in being able to produce your homeworks, no? Lahat kailangan digital or online format, right? And of course, lack of technical resources. Alam na alam natin yan sa Philippines. Ganyan talaga yung sitwasyon natin. Kung hindi mahina yung internet mo, mahina yung phone para sabayin yung demands, right? So there's just a lot of things going on when it comes to the online setup. And we have very specific examples here of teachers talking about their experience. One of them said na there's definitely a problem with submitting yung work because of yun nga, yung internet connection. But they're also feeling na although they hate the system and COVID, what else can they do? That sense of helplessness na parang wala namang mababago sa sitwasyon natin, right? I'm totally sure you're agreeing and relating with that idea. It feels like every week may panibago tayong letter ng quarantine. Kahit bago-baguhin pa natin yung arrangement, it feels like it's still the same thing. I'd like to also highlight something here. No? Yung, one teacher was able to say na they're not okay, to be honest. But they're still highlighting some good things. They still receive salary, mas mababa ng expenses because of wala ng commute, right? But overall, they're generally feeling this anxiety and they're worried for their pupils. I'm pretty sure this is one of the strongest feelings you have right now then. Even if you're not a teacher and you are working with clients or with your other you receive yung nagre-receive ng services nyo, I'm pretty sure all of us are feeling na, are they okay? Are they navigating this place well? And it feels like that's something that we can really worry on and on about. But here, there's another teacher who said na they're adjusting and they feel like if you could retire now, they'd happily do so. Clearly reflecting that willingness to work na bumaba, diba? And then I'm pretty sure here the top right, a lot of you will definitely feel this one. Nararamdaman nyo yung anxiety, but you just pray to God and trust His protection. We can definitely see that that's the hope that we can cling on, na we really just want to may pangahawakan tayo. And one of our best sources for that is, of course, God. So why did we bring up all of these studies? And what's actually happened was for me to highlight how everybody's feeling right now in our situation. Our check-in a while ago was all about how are you in the last 24 hours and what's your performance been like. And what's really happening here is that nakikita natin yung effects ng pandemic with our well-being. Because with well-being lowering, our sense of well-being lowered, we actually suffer with performance. So you notice na napapagod kayo, it doesn't feel like it's the same output that you're probably doing. Or if you are, what's happening then is lower immunity or poor health. And that's a bad thing because especially now in the pandemic with COVID going on, diba? We want our immunity up. We want to be healthy. We don't want to have risk factors. So it's actually alarming that our well-being has lowered during the pandemic and we're suffering, our performance and our health is suffering at the same time. But what's the silver lining here? The total opposite is true when it comes to higher well-being. So if we look at higher well-being, this is what you get. No? Study shows that you'll get better mood and better health. And of course, with that, you'll show up with work better and you have a better performance. You can even be more creative as teachers. That's very important, and we can even tap onto a lot of the resources around us. And when the going gets really tough, we have now access to resiliency and hopefulness. Very important components to have when we're facing a lot of challenges, especially now in the pandemic. No, so that is the benefit of well-being. And if we were to really sum it all up, so you can understand what I've been talking about, there's this phrase that I was able to really capture here, and it's that we cannot give our best when we are not at our best. Hindi ba? Ang hirap na magbigay para when we're coming from a place that we don't feel like we're at the capacity to even give. So this is why it's very important for us to really pay attention to our well-being and how can we support it. So with well-being, no, we've been tossing this around since kanina pa, no. So what is well-being? Ano nga ba siya? And I'd love to hear from everybody first. What does well-being mean to you? So we'll go back to Menti so that I can hear from everybody else. No, what are the general ideas that we have when it comes to well-being? Okay, so we'll wait for a while for people to input their answers as they connect back to Menti. Let me refresh just in case people are joining in already and replying. Right. Okay. Wala pang there. Okay. There we go. So someone in the chat was saying that state of being comfortable, and then people are saying happy, being healthy, stress free. No. Nikki, if I were to ask you what stands out here for you when it comes to what people associate with well being.
I think really what people have been associating with recently is good health. Na if you
Right.
that's already something that we used to take it for granted, but these days parang wow, it's such a huge thing. If you have your good health, parang that's such a big thing already in this pandemic.
Uh-huh. Right. And what you can see actually is there are a lot of things going around, but happiness, health, and comfort seem to be like this very central idea when it comes to well-being. No, that we want to feel at peace, we want to be comfortable, we want to be happy and healthy. No, so these are the central ideas that have been like a lot of the ideas that relate to it are circling around. And what's actually nice about this is actually very close to the well-being model that I'd like to talk to you about today of what is well-being. Okay, so with well-being, we actually have this model that we can really understand, no? And this model was actually pioneered the same time positive psychology, the course that I'm taking, boomed, no? And originally they only had 5 components, yung PERMA, and then yung letter V sa dulo, nadagdag lang siya recently, no? Oral, nadagdag siya right after na-start yung well-being model. And it's thanks to actually the teacher that I'm learning from when it comes to positive psychology. Amelia, shout out to you. And so the idea behind this well-being model is that this is actually 6 components in our life or areas of our life that we want to invest in when it comes to our own well-being, no? So each part of our life, we should be able to invest in these components so that we can boost our happiness, our state of being, our comfort level, no? So we'll take a look at each of them now, no? Ano ba yung 6 na to? So first, we have positivity. Then we have engagement. Okay? We have relationships. We have meaning, achievement, and then finally, we have vitality. Okay? So now it's important to really get to know all of these components. How can we work on our well-being using this 6 components that I've just talked about? No? And we'll start with positivity. Okay? So a lot of you might be reacting right now. Positivity, hindi ba parang medyo toxic yung pakinggan because it feels like that's the only thing that we have to think about. Pero hindi naman pwedeng ganon. And exactly the point, right? But when it comes to having positivity in our lives, what I mean by this is the idea of the permission to be human. No, and this comes from Harvard's most popular professor when it comes to the psychology of happiness. No, he talks about the permission to be human. And what does it mean to be human? No, and in terms of positivity, we as human beings have the capacity to feel emotions and all its complexities. Hindi ba? So, gusto natin maramdaman natin sila lahat, or we're allowed to feel all of these emotions in that sense. So we have happiness, we have anger, we have love, we have worry. These are all complex emotions that we experience. And now you might be thinking, but hindi ba pangit na makaramdam ng galit or ng worry or ng anxiety? 'Di ba ayaw naman natin ng ganon? Those are very hard feelings to come with. But if we were to really understand emotions, let's take a step back and look at what are the actual functions of emotions, no? And we can branch them out into two. First, we have negative emotions. So yung tinatawag, yung negative emotions dito that we usually identify with, we have anger, worry, and fear. So these examples that we have, they actually create narrowing and focus when it comes to the experience with them. So yung source nung anger natin or nung takot or nung anxiety natin, bigla tayong tumutuon ng pansin doon. So if you were now to think about your situation now in the pandemic, that we have COVID going around, notice how everyone is very watchful of the news. 'Di ba? Konting balita lang, konting shift lang ng quarantine, we have to know what's it all about. And we're so attentive to what's happening with COVID that we're always washing our hands diligently. No? Kailangan lagi maghugas ng kamay, kailangan 6 feet apart tayo lagi, dapat dala natin yung face shield natin, suot natin yung mask, because these are very helpful responses for us to actually avoid the harm. This is good, diba? If we are able to move away from the harm of COVID or the threat of COVID, it creates so much places for us to be safe. Kaya tayo nagna-narrow and focus. Pero mahirap din that we're always just narrowed and focused na yun lang iniisip natin lagi. So what's the opposite now? With positive emotions, we have examples like joy, gratitude, and love. And they actually produce two functions here. First, it builds our psychological capital. Ano ibig sabihin nun? So, 'di ba pag nakaramdam tayo ng masaya tayo or mapagpasalamat tayo in the moment, or merong nagpahiwatig ng love nila sa atin, we come from a place of fullness. So when something bad happens, no, bigla tayong na bad trip, may accident, and then, or someone just really says something badly, no, we actually have the patience to deal with that kind of stress. Kasi nga nanggaling tayo sa place of fullness, na build yung resources natin when we experience positive emotions. And to pair that with effectively, we also broaden our mindset when we experience positive emotions. So, 'di ba, nakakaramdam tayo nung joy, nung gratitude, nung love. And then when someone comes in with a very negative statement, we can have a more open idea to why they're saying that. Mas madali mag-connect sa kanila. We're very open to relating with people because we are able to broaden yung pagkakaintindi natin sa sitwasyon nila because we're coming from that place of fullness. No? But what is the point in explaining to you all these, the functions of the positive, of our emotions, no? And what it really boils down to is genuine positivity allows experiences of all emotions. No, hindi lang pwedeng I just want to be happy or kailangan nagigigil lang ako sa tao na to. We can actually explore the complexities of all emotions. And if we were to really talk about this that we can really drive the point forward, no. Our experiencing our healthy emotions is very similar to how we experience healthy digestion. What does that mean? Na 'di ba pag healthy yung digestion natin, we can eat food and it passes through us. We can digest it easily and of course, dumadaloy siya, 'di ba? Pero pag yeah, exactly. It can be very similar to the Inside Out movie na kapag naman hindi tayo healthy sa digestion natin, we start to repel emotions. No, we don't want the food. Suka tayo na suka, we're not eating, or when it stays inside of us too long, ang sakit sa tiyan, we feel so much discomfort, or just it comes out the wrong way, di ba? That happens when we're sick with our digestion. So when it comes to emotions, when we're sick with emotions, we actually start repelling emotions. Ayokong maramdaman yan. No, that when we're healthy, we let these emotions come to us. And that's the beautiful thing about it, that we can let anger, worry, love pass through us and not hold on to it, ha. Kasi remember, it's good that we let go of anger and fear. Pero some people might start thinking, 'di ba ang ganda na hawakan yung love or yung happiness. The thing about this one now is that we also want to let these moments pass then, because sometimes if we cling on to love and happiness too much, we don't even want to lose them na. Nagiging desperate tayo sa behavior natin. Hindi kailangan mahalin niya ako ng mahalin, so I need to sacrifice something. And that's actually not good for us anymore. And it's the same thing with being happy, right? We cling onto the idea of happiness for too much that it doesn't let us behave in a different way. We can't react appropriately to situations. So when it comes to permission to be human, it's very important for our well-being that we let all emotions come through and let them all pass through. Because when you start blocking specific emotions, what you're actually doing is that you're blocking your accessibility to all other emotions. Mas mahirap nang maramdaman yung happiness and yung love kung hindi mo hinahayaan yung sarili mo makaramdam din ng galit o ng worry. No, acknowledge that it happens to you. We're all human after all, hindi ba? So we can let those feelings pass through us and acknowledge and even help and ask support in that sense na, uy, nakakaramdam ako ng ganito. Pwede bang easy lang tayo? No? It's more helpful for us in that situation. No? So let's now look at engagement. So when it comes to engagement, this is a very broad idea, but if we were to narrow it down, it's our capacity now for our well-being to show up in the world the way we want to. Ano ibig sabihin nun? It's if we were not to focus on the words show up, 'di ba? We can only show up by being present. 'Di ba? You can't show up to a party if you're not present, or you can't show up in class if you're not present. So that's exactly the idea. It's about being present in the moment, no? And when we have engagement in our lives, we want to use mindfulness so that we can achieve being in the present moment. And you might now be thinking, mindfulness seems like it's all about meditation, but I can't meditate while I'm working, or I can't just be sitting in meditation the whole time. Hindi naman pwede yon, di ba? But what really happens here is that when it comes to mindfulness, there's an even simpler exercise that we can start with. All right, and that is, and we'll need to illustrate that here in this image right now. No, so this comes from an artist working with a cognitive behavioral therapy group. No, so yung mga psych therapists, and they try to capture this difference between mindful or mindful. So you can see the person on the left, yung tao, no, yung pagiging mindful niya, he's probably thinking about himself. He's sad. You can see notes around him, so he's probably listening to music. But you can also see a lot of the other things he's thinking about. Yung medyas niya, or yung traffic siguro papuntang work. Baka iniisip niya rin yung girlfriend niya or yung partner niya sa bahay, or probably yung mom. Meron din siya mga letters na ina-expect na pupuno na yung mailbox. So yung mga ganong ideas pumapasok sa head niya, and we can call that as mindful. In contrast, yung aso sa kanan, what is he thinking about? Kung ano yung nasa harap niya. Exactly. Charlotte, I see your dog. And she's probably, he or she is probably very mindful right now, just enjoying your hug, no? And then, yeah, exactly. I hear you, Michael, saying na mindful can be very clouded, and mindful is awareness. And we'll get to that in a little bit. No? So why do I ask this? Because we want to now start practicing the difference between the two. So we'll now go back to Menti, and I just want to hear from people. Are you mindful, or is your mind full? No? Okay, next slide. Yeah, right now, is your mind full, or are you mindful? I just love to hear from everybody. Okay. Okay, nagpapantay tayo. That's lovely. So I'm really happy for those people who get to access being mindful at this moment. You're probably just paying attention to me and really listening in and listening to what I have to say and being present in this moment. No, it's very lovely. And then some people on the other hand, it's also okay that in this moment you might be listening to me, but you're also thinking about so many other things. That's totally fine. No, okay lang tayong mag-shift between being mindful and having our mind full. All right. So, what did we just do here? We actually practiced engagement. And why is that? Because when it comes to my engagement, at least being the first step to having engagement in our lives is noticing when your mind is full. So if we never noticed that our mind was full, we would never be able to reflect that, oh, I'm not being present in the moment pala now. Diba? So when we now look at this example no, of noticing when your mind is full, it's now our capacity to bring it back, bring our attention back to the present. Kanina may nag-chat, sabi niya, awareness yung equal no engage or yung mindfulness. And that's exactly the point. When we have mind, when we start asking ourselves, mindful ba ako or am I mindful? We start now acquiring the self-awareness. No? What am I feeling in this situation? How am I in this moment? And what happens here is that we can continue on with a well-being practice here, no? We can now start accessing self-compassion when we understand ourselves. Bakit? When you are noticing na your mind is full, you can respond by, your self-care response can be, uh, I'm thinking about something right now, but let me get back to what I'm doing in this moment. So maybe it's listening to me, or if you're thinking about like doing work at home, no, and you're probably thinking about all of these other things, walang pagkain sa bahay, paano kaya yung anak ko, or paano kaya yung mga students ko matututo mamaya, or stress ako, ang daming kailangan gawin. When you have all of these things, sometimes you can just tell yourself na, oh, okay, I was thinking about that and let me get back to work. That's a self-care response and that's totally fine. Another way of having self-care for ourselves is that when we recognize, ang dami kong iniisip, ang dami kong wino-worry. Di ba, permission to be human? Pwede tayong mag-worry. So ngayon, paano ba natin susuportahan yung sarili natin when we worry? Kasi ang dami kong iniisip, let me write down some of these things that I'm worried about so that later, hindi ko na siya kailangang isipin. I can just get to working on them. Kasi kung nag-create na ako ng moment na aalagaan ko yung sarili ko. Alam ko na ang dami kong iniisip, ang daming bumabagabag sa nangyayari ngayon. Paano kaya na susuportahan ko yung sarili ko mamaya, 'di ba? So because we create self-care, and that's sort of a place of positivity in our lives, we now have accessibility to more awareness. Mas magiging engaged na tayo. Right? So that's the beautiful thing about starting with noticing when your mind is full. And this is the simplest step we can engage with in getting well-being back into our lives when it comes to engagement and well-being. Okay? So we'll now move on to relationships. Okay? So relationship, bakit ba siya importante in the first place? No? Because if we were to boil down my favorite science, positive psychology, to the simplest idea, it resonates with one of the founders, no? Christopher Peterson said, other people matter. And it's such a beautiful phrase. Because when we think about ourselves as social beings, we really need people around us, right? Even as young as babies, we're drawn to find attachment and make connections because what really matters here is that other people. And this is both true for you as a person, no, and the people around you. So if we were to make sense of that, ikaw, gusto mong pahalagahan yung mga taong nasa paligid mo, so you'll do your best to make sure that they know that. No? 'Di ba? Uy, importante ka sa akin. Uy, I care for you. Uy, you're my friend. Those are moments that we can create moments for people to matter in our lives. And it's the same thing for us naman. Gusto natin na nagmamatter tayo sa ibang tao. We want to hear from other people, uy, you're my friend. Uy, importante ka sa akin. 'Di ba? Ang ganda sa pakiramdam when we hear those things. And that's essentially the idea when it comes to relationships. So if we were now to look at the well-being of yung well-being spectrum natin, no, from one end we have isolation, and on the other end we have savoring relationships. We can kind of notice na if you're always on the other end, yung isolation, that's actually very bad, because isolation is the enemy when it comes to our relationship or social well-being. Why is that? Because what happens with us is that when it's not even being alone that's the problem. Kasi pag mag-isa tayo, pinili natin yun eh. Yung isolation, wala tayong choice. Kaya yung feeling ngayon ng pandemic, ang bigat. Kasi wala na tayong access na madalian sa mga tao that we're so used to being around us, right? If you're a teacher, you had your cubicles around you, no, that your co-teachers, no, ang dali mga musta, 'di ba? Uy, kamusta yung class mo today? Or even simpleng, uy, lunch tayo. Ang ganda ng pakiramdam that we're working alongside with many people, and it feels like we don't have access to that, especially when we're working in front of our computers, 'di ba? Swerte na tayo if we're living with family members or we're living with friends na are willing to stay with us. But if you didn't have this option or you don't have these connections, it's very difficult for you to move from a place of isolation to having well-being now. So the idea for us is to move to the right side of this spectrum. No, we want to first recognize that connections exist and then move towards being able to savor them. Okay, so we'll now have another mentee, and it's now recognizing the connections that we have. So I invite you now to reflect and really think about who in your life do you still get to connect with despite the pandemic. Sino yung iba't ibang tao that you can still connect with, no? And then we'll check here for the responses of people quickly. Nikki, sorry to put you in the spot, but do you have answers to this? No, who are the people that you really connect with despite the pandemic?
I agree with the people who have been putting family, because this is the most time I have ever spent with my family. I'm far away from my friends, but I'm closer to my family now.
Diba? That's exactly the thing. It almost opened up accessibility for us to have family really close to us. It's such a beautiful thing. And I love that people are getting to celebrate that they are still close with their family, and people are still able to say that, hey, I still have connections with friends, workmates, no, colleagues, best friend, no. We want to highlight this system. And then for someone who's isolated, no, maybe for this moment, you can think of us as your family. We're all joining us together watching this webinar. We're all watching the same thing. And in a way, I extend my heart to you. I hope you feel genuine connection with us right now, at least in this moment. And maybe a little bit later, you'll be able to reflect, no, I'm actually connecting. You know, even if it's a dog, especially yung participant natin kanina who showed up with their dog. No, it's a beautiful connection to also treasure, no? And so if we look back now to moving our experiences from connections to savoring, what we want to be able to do is to show love to them. And how do we do that? To the same person who was thinking about these functions of positive emotions, ito rin yung explanation niya of love, no? That love is a shared experience of any positive emotion or a collection of. So what does that mean? If we want to now move our direction from recognizing the connections to savoring relationships or enjoying or flourishing in our relationships, what we want to be able to do is to share a moment where we can have gratitude for them, joy. We can have just serenity or calmness. That's also a very powerful positive emotion that we can share with people. Yung tahimik na afternoon coffee with a person that you're really close with, that's such a beautiful moment to savor a relationship because you can enjoy peace and quiet with them. And then if you have a loved one that, like you really, really enjoy laughing together, you're always building your relationship in that sense because that's so much joy and amusement in your relationship with them. So think about the connections, and I want you to also think about how can we now start moving in creating positive experiences with them where we get to enjoy positive emotions as well. All right. So quick review lang tayo, no? We've had positivity, engagement, and relationship. We have three more to go. Kapit lang tayo, friends. We'll get through them. And then so we'll now move on to meaning. And this moment, this is sort of a very heavy reflection in a sense, no? But it is also a perfect moment for us to celebrate vulnerability with one another. But when it comes to meaning, what it means for our well-being is that we are able to understand what makes life worth living. So when we're answering this question, what makes life worth living? Two answers actually can come up now. My life has meaning and or my life has purpose. And what we actually want to do to create meaning in our lives is that we access both. Now we can have both my life has meaning and my life has purpose, or even using both to really drive our life forward. No? And let me explain a little bit so that you can start practicing that. So when we talk about my life has meaning, it shows our comprehension. Paano ba natin naiintindihan yung buhay natin? Or how can I make sense of my life? And when we ask this question, or when we know the answer to this question, what we have is here is our overall well-being resource. Napakalaki niya ng source ng well-being natin. So if we were to give an example here, higher resiliency, when we go through very tough times, we can bounce back better kasi naintindihan natin bakit natin pinagdaanan yung moment na yon. And that when we face another difficult moment in our lives, we still are stronger. Na meron pa rin tayong accessibility to bounce back again. No? If I were to share more about this idea, I'll tell more about my experience. No? When you practice resilience, when you practice this comprehension na I can make sense of my life, one moment is very true for me was when I had extreme anxiety in January 2020. It was so intense that all I wanted to do was leave my work. No, yung work ko bago mag-positive workplaces. It felt like I wanted to escape, and the only way out of it was also contemplating about suicide. And that might have been the case for me talaga. But because I went into that space, and it was a very difficult moment in my life, I got to now start accessing a therapist. Nagpatingin ako sa therapist. I really consulted with her. What do I need to move towards my life? And that's when I started understanding, you know what? I've been giving up on my well-being for the longest time. I wasn't paying attention to it. And so I realized in that moment, I need to treasure well-being. I really need to give this importance. And if I didn't have that moment, I wouldn't be here today talking to you how important well-being is and where can we access well-being. Ano yung iba't ibang places na pwede natin i-access yung well-being. This gives me so much meaning in my life because I realized that's such a hardship that I have to go through. And if I need to go through another hardship like that, I'll be able to tell myself, I know it's going to play out for a bigger reason in the future. That is having comprehension in life. And thank you, Charlotte, for saying that you're very proud of me. And I really, really appreciate that. I'm sending you lots of love for saying that. And now we'll compare this with purpose or connect this with purpose. No. Sorry, but before that, let's get you all practicing first comprehension. No. So it's your turn now. What experience or moment in your life made you decide to be a teacher? No, exactly similar to my experience or maybe very differently. No, what's that moment that pushed you to really want to be a teacher? Or if you're joining us and you're not a teacher, no, maybe talk about the profession you decided to join in, right? So we'll take a look at the responses of people in our Menti. So I'll quickly refresh lang. So while we wait for a moment, no, okay, someone is already sharing in chat, and thank you, Shirley, for saying that you admire your previous teachers. Diba? Parang you draw a lot of inspiration and hope from their teachings. Na you want to be a teacher yourself. Someone said na it's been their childhood dream. Nakakatuwa naman yon. From the moment na bata ka pa lang, alam nyo na gusto nyo maging teacher. That's very inspiring. And Jessica from chat says, it was my dad. He is my mentor and idolize him so much as a teacher. So again, drawing from those inspirations. We have beautiful example here of yung merong teacher na na-inspire because meron din siyang high school teacher that really touched them. And then meron ding teacher na nagsabi, na-inspire sila kasi back in high school, they used to be able to do that for other students. So very, very concrete experiences of how we can really relate being a teacher now and what we experienced in the past, no? And that's really beautiful. I just want to spend some time acknowledging someone who also says that they feel like they have no choice in deciding to be a teacher. And that's also one way of acknowledging the reasoning behind your career right now. Because if you recognize that you didn't have a choice now, maybe you'll be able to shift into a question much later on in life or maybe soon na if I had a choice, would I actually go back to teaching? Maybe that's a question that might really help you enjoy teaching. If not, it's also no shame to be moving out. My experience was that I was very much into food and cooking before I switched into positive psychology. No, I did 2 years of food and business. And I said, you know what, I can throw all of that to experience. Ganun talaga. Matatalo ka in a situation that didn't feel right. And I really wanted to shift to positive psychology as my new career. And here I am now, and I feel very proud of that transition. All right. And I really, really love people being able to answer that they feel that being a teacher is their calling. And maybe there's a more particular moment in your life that you can really capture. Kailan ba siya naging calling sa akin? No, na it just runs through you. Or maybe ganun nga siya. Sobrang natural siyang pakiramdam in our body that it's so easy to call it a calling. All right. So that's one practice of our being able to comprehend our life. No? So now if we were to move it to purpose, there's one person who was able to very much capture this idea already. Na sabi nila na we need to find, when you realize that your life has meaning, you will know your purpose. That's so beautiful, Michael. You really capture that idea because that's exactly how we can utilize meaning, that we can start moving towards purpose. Bakit ba importante yung purpose in the first place, no? Because when we say my life has purpose, it actually gives us action. It drives us to act in a certain way. When we say I am living purposefully, what is it that we are trying to live by exactly? So if we were to say my value is generosity, how am I practicing generosity every day? And if we are also able to practice generosity every day, what it helps us to, or what it helps for us, is that we experience now higher positivity. Mas madali tayong ma-experience ng positive emotions. We're easily able to navigate building our resources, and we know that we can keep going. No? So when I knew that when I realized that I had to go through the experience of not taking care of my well-being, to suffer the consequences, and to now be in a place of great well-being, I'm happily able to say that, you know what, my life purpose right now is to exactly teach and be an example of well-being, of what well-being can look like in a person. I want to be able to tell people that, hey, you need to exercise, you need to take care of your emotions, we want to have meaning, we want to save relationships, because I'm going through that process of building all of these things in my life. And I want everybody to be able to also learn about that. No, because it's such a beautiful idea in my head that if we all started being at our best, or if I'm able to multiply that idea that people are at their best, what we can see is that everybody will also give their best to their work, to the people around them. And I think that makes a wonderful world to live in. So now it's your turn. With your purpose, let's answer, what impact do you want to make as a teacher? If you're not a teacher, again, respond in the profession that you're in right now. What impact do you want to make in that profession that you're in? Okay, so we'll go back to our mentee. No? So while we're waiting for responses, let's see if the chat has already may mga nag-response na. Okay. What you want, okay, I like this first example that we're already seeing here, no? That they want to change lives as a teacher. No. Oh, I love this next one that's highlighted here. No, teach my students kindness among others and be good citizens. So we definitely value academic rigor or yung talino ng pagiging isang academic, magaling sa math, magaling sa music, or whatnot. But what I really like about this is what they want to teach us our values, and that's very very touching to hear. Um, and of course, a lot of you are sharing the same sentiment that you want to touch the lives of so many students, of young people, and and that you also want to create safe spaces for students within the students that you interact with. No, you want to create inspiration. These are wonderful examples of our purpose in life. No, so I want you to remember that if you have your pen and paper ready with you, go ahead and write your responses, because you can always look back at these meanings and purpose that you have in life, and that you can really enjoy that. No, right. Okay, so that's our module for meaning, and we'll move on to achievement. No, and this one is very simple. No, when it comes to achievement, we might actually start thinking about yung success, this idea that success and happiness are two opposing ideas. If you start Googling success and happiness, what we usually find is success versus happiness, which one should you prioritize? But in reality, when it comes to our well-being, success is a pathway to happiness. Hindi kailangan na nagtatalo ang isa't isa. What we can have is success so that we can also have happiness. But if success isn't your kind of tea, okay lang. You can still be happy in other well-being pathways. But people generally want to feel proud about themselves na kaya kong mag-achieve ng iba't ibang bagay. May nagagawa ako in my life. No? That's essentially what we want to do. That in at least in our culture, pride is something that we're almost automatically made to feel shame with. 'Di ba? Hindi ka pwede masyadong ma-pride, hindi mo pwede pagyabang 'yan kasi yung iba may ilang. But if anything, genuine pride or authentic pride comes from a place from I want to be an inspiration to others because this is really empowering me. Yes, exactly. Beautiful point. Si Michael talaga ang galing mag-synthesize ng ideas. No? He or she says, in pursuit of happiness, you'll find success. That's very beautiful. So let's try now living out that simple exercise of pride. No, quickly reflect on your life. No, recently, and answer this question. What's something you achieved recently that brought you pride or joy? So balik ulit tayo sa Menti. Like Nikki explained, we're going to keep coming back to our Menti because I love having this very interactive session with everybody. This is our way of practicing well-being already right away. No? So as we wait for people to chime in, one thing that I can say that I've achieved recently that I'm really proud of. A lot of people here does definitely not know about this with me, no, but I'm actually I love stretching, and a lot of my teammates already saw this, that I'm able to do middle splits and really fold in half when I'm doing hamstring stretches, yung nakakahawak sa floor while legs are straight. I'm very happy and proud about that achievement of mine because I've really worked hard for it, mga 4 months, no. So people are putting in responses very beautiful. That someone was able to finish their PhD application. No, I'm pretty sure that's been like something that you've been working hard on for a very long time, and that's such a beautiful celebration. No, oh, I really want to celebrate this person. I survived stroke. That's such a beautiful reminder of how we can actually enjoy our lives more, having gone through such a difficult time, no? And especially if it's health concern, di ba? So ingat po tayo, whoever you are, when it comes to exposing yourself. I know that you're very much at risk, no, with exposure, more so with pandemic. So ingat po tayo lagi, no. Oh, I love these responses here. No, someone said that they finished the Science of Wellbeing course, no. Being able to do that. Nakakatuwa yung mga responses ng mga tao. Someone was promoted in their job. They were able to be hired as a teacher, no? And I really like the quiet ones. Genuine happiness in a new dog. Nakakatuwa that we are able to give those moments for ourselves. Na you might not think that's something that you can be proud of or enjoy, but if you're able to access that, that's such a beautiful place. Uh, and I really like this recent post from Mirna who says, I gave a positive answer to my friend to accompany her to the hospital despite COVID scare. I really, really admire your strength, Mirna, to be able to support your friend in this scenario. And thank you for sharing that. I hope your friend is very much well and that well wishes on your way. Okay. Um, so we'll now move on to our final component of well-being. Okay. And that is vitality. So what is vitality? No? And what we want to talk about here is the mind and body connection. Okay? So ano nga ba yung mind and body connection? Na our energy in our brain or our mind is very much connected to our energy in our health and on our body. No? If we were to make the example clear here, uh, siguro naka-experience na kayo na nagpupuyat, 'di ba? Kulang ng tulog yung katawan nyo. So naturally, your brain feels very lethargic, wala ka sa mood, wala kang patience, no? That's a very clear example of how our our body's health can affect our mind. Vice versa. Given our moment right now that we're so stressed with the pandemic and that's almost the only the thing that we're thinking of or yun lang yung nasa isip natin, it can bring about a lot of negativity and stress. So, what happens? Our body actually naturally reacts. Stress din yung katawan natin. Ang bigat ng feeling, parang konting ubo mo lang, meron na ba ako nung may COVID ba ako? Ganon, di ba? Parang ang alert natin bigla because our body is also reacting na, oh, am I thinking about sickness? Am I thinking about sadness? Your body will naturally feel that. No? Exactly. Vital is essential, and having a sound mind and a sound body is such an important concept to grasp. No, and so what these are actually the different areas in our life that we can recharge our vitality. We have sleep, exercise, nutrition, simple breathing, and even access to nature. No, so let's ask you now, no, what is that, which aspect of vitality do you want to invest in more? Right, so one of our last few mentee questions, so hang in there. No, so for me, I really want to work on sleep, because of how I've been very active with work and being able to really access all the all the beautiful work that I'm doing. Sometimes I forget to sleep or sleep properly. So I really want to work on that. No? So some people are saying nature. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are connecting with that in that sense na ngayong pandemic, parang ang hirap mag-access ng nature. But actually, very interestingly, if you're able to watch YouTube videos of beautiful nature sceneries, maraming ganyan yung 4K videos of nature, biglang ang luwag huminga kasi it feels like we're part of the open air. It feels like we're one with nature in that sense. A lot of people are saying exercise, no? And this is actually very important because when our bodies are feeling physically healthy, naturally our mind will also be stronger. Mas meron tayong access to all this dopamine and all these feel-good chemicals because our brain really desires all of these things that we're talking about. Proper breathing, proper nutrition, proper sleep, access to nature. Pag lahat yon nagagawa natin, our brain is very happy because our brain is also part of our body. It needs the same sustenance our body needs. So with a healthy brain, our mind will also be healthy. And that's such a beautiful thing to really practice, no? So if for the people who are saying that they need to invest in sleep, exercise, nutrition, breathing, or nature, whichever one you're thinking about. Sorry. Here's one thing that will really help you think about in terms of moving your direction forward with vitality. Now, this idea of some is better than none, more is better than some, and lots is better than more. So what does that mean? Kahit nanggagaling tayo sa place of none, kahit yung katiting na dagdag lang natin, that's much better. For example, exercise. No, maybe our sedentary lifestyle has made us used to sitting down or lying down. Yun lang yung options natin right now, kaya gusto nyo mag-exercise. So, maybe the quickest way to start adding exercise, maybe try just moving your arms up and down. Nakakatuwa isipin, parang ang liit naman na bagay nun. But that is some, which is better than none. No? Para what I always like to think about when it comes to creating healthy habits in our life, especially when it comes to our vitality, it's much better to ask our questions, what's the minimum that I can start investing in so that I can move myself forward? Ano yung parang minimum effort na pwede kong gawin? Na? Swinging your arms up and down intentionally for exercise, that's already one way of committing to yourself na I don't know, I want better mobility in my arms, no? Or baka mamaya kakagawa mo ng ganun, parang ang sarap pala sa feeling, gusto ko na magbuhat, no? Now it becomes more is better than some. And then as we continue building our habits, we'll eventually get to lots, no? So it's my same experience when it comes to stretching. Hirap na hirap ako dati, 5 minutes lang. Nung una, ang sakit sa katawan. But eventually, as I got used to it, now I do 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour worth of stretching a day. And it's so invigorating for me to have those stretching moments in my life. Kasi nga, kailangan ng katawan kong gumalaw talaga. So, it's the same concept that can apply when it comes to sleep. Maybe taking a nap when you usually don't kasi hirap na hirap kang sumabay. Maybe with nutrition. Hindi ka kumakain masyado ng gulay, kain ka ng kahit isang katuting na broccoli or ng sitaw, kangkong, ganon. 'Di ba? Or palitan nyo lang actually yung diet nyo into just pure gulay. No? Ready na kayo mag-move on sa ganon. So think about those moments that you want, which aspects of vitality you want to invest in, and what is the shortest or what is the minimum amount that you can start committing to so that we can already start moving our direction to some, to more, and then to lots. Okay? So those are actually all our 6 components. No, we have positivity, engagement, relationship, meaning, achievement, and vitality. All right. So let's ask now our final question. Which component of the PERMA-V well-being model do you resonate with the most? Hey, so go answer. I want to hear from people. Saan kayo nag-connect the most? So right now we're getting even ground. Personally, I'm a big fan of vitality. I so much enjoy being able to move my body, get sleep, get nutrition. No, it just ang hirap lang talaga paminsan i-prioritize yung sleep, and I promise I'm really working hard on it. So you can count me. You can put some accountability on me with that one. How about you, Nikki? What was very resonating for you with all our PERMA-V components?
I think relationships, na even if the pandemic has been, keeping us apart, I still feel deeply connected to people around me. Even like Gio and I, we're good friends, and yet we've never met in real life. So I
I
feel it
know.
hasn't been a big hurdle in terms of being able to connect to people.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, Nikki. I really, really enjoy our conversations and being able to grow our relationship as working partners. And you're right, na kahit na hindi pa tayo nagkikita, it feels like we've known each other for quite some time, di ba? So some people are saying na, yun nga, or at least majority of people are saying positivity yung nagre-resonate sa kanila, no? And it's such a beautiful component of our well-being. I also like that we're also distributed in a sense. Some people are saying no na vitality, so it's resonating with me so much. That's the kind of place that I want to have support in. No, and of course relationships and meaning. No, these are all wonderful places that we can have well-being in. So maybe before we move on with our final segment, no, I just want to say a few things when it comes to our PERMA-V well-being model. We have 6 components, no? And what the reason why I asked why this resonates with you the most is because if this is where you're connecting with, if you're just supposed to pick one well-being component that you really connect with, if you start prioritizing that area of your life, that will really help you in in developing your well-being. No, you don't have to focus on all the other six just so you can have well-being. If positivity was so meaningful for you na kahit yun lang muna yung focus nyo, it really drives you forward when it comes to your well-being. Now, if it was vitality or meaning or relationship, it's the same thing. Na if we can prioritize one of these pillars of well-being, we can start accessing more well-being for us. More well-being for us means that we have now more space to explore the other components. Feeling ko naaalagaan ko na yung sarili ko with my body. Maybe I can now start taking care of my relationships because I'm in a good place. I'm coming from a happy place or I'm coming from a healthy place. Diba? Nakakatuwa yung ganong idea. So, thank you for sharing all of your ideas when it comes to what resonates with you the most. And I really invite you to think about how can you start moving in that direction, at least in the component that you said that you're really connected with. So, bonus sa ating mga pumili ng positivity kasi yung na-experience din naman natin a little bit of engagement, relationship, meaning, achievement, and vitality. Medyo pinagdaanan natin yung konting interventions in those areas. So, for you sticking around, we actually have a bonus, no? And that is how can we practice more positivity in our life? May bonus na rin tayo na relationships dito. But what we want to do, at least for this moment, no, is a quick gratitude exercise. No? So if you're feeling like you really resonate with positivity and we want to develop positive emotions more, what are answer these questions either in your pen, in your chat, no? If you want to just think about those answers in your head, that's also fine. But answer the question, what are 3 things that you are grateful for today? Now, if you're valuing relationships a lot, that was your answer. You can also practice this other idea, no? Being able to savor connections. Remember that love is experiencing shared positive emotion. So now what we can do is to share gratitude with a person that you're genuinely grateful for. Think about that person. Write them a gratitude letter. You don't need to share it if you're not comfortable here in chat, but definitely write it personally. Read it or send it to them. Now, I want to take this moment to celebrate or practice relationships, no? Because I really have a person that I'm genuinely grateful for. And hello to you, Ma. I know you've really arranged your schedule to fit watching me doing my webinar. And like you said, you are my number 1 supporter. I really, really am grateful for that. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be in this place or position, the privilege to share about well-being. So, nararamdaman niyo naman siguro yung genuine feeling na yon. So, I'm pretty sure that's something that you really relate to. If you want to create also that experience. So, right? So, exactly. So, if my mom was watching this, or I know she is, she'd probably be savoring that feeling right now, diba? Yung gratitude ko for her. So, yeah, exactly. Nakakatama siya talaga ng emotions kasi ganun talaga yung feeling. So, this is exactly the same opportunity for you. If you want to savor your positivity for yourself, write 3 things that you're grateful for. And or if you want now to practice more relationships, to savor relationships in your life, write down a gratitude letter for that person that you really, really, really care for. No, how about you, Nikki? Is there someone you're grateful for, or do you want to celebrate in like practicing a positive emotion, gratefulness for today?
I'm on the spot. This was not rehearsed, Gio.
But
I guess
exactly, this is
want to
genuine,
say,
right?
thank you to the team behind Positive Workplaces. Right now, we have Alma, Rafi, Kurt, and Gio facilitating this webinar because we really want to do a lot of big things for the whole country, and especially this month for a lot of teachers. And it can't be done with just for instance, just my capability. So the impact that we're able to reach is because people have been so generous, and the people behind Positive Workplaces have been so generous. So special shout out to the team. Like, I'm grateful for you guys every day. Like you're able to take care of my well-being because you pick up on so much of the work that has to be done. So thanks so much, everyone in the team.
Yes, exactly. I also want to chime in with you on that, Nikki. I'm really, really grateful for the support of everyone in our team right now. They're able to really give their best. And, like it, although this is just a simple platform that we get to share this moment with everybody. A lot of work has gone into this, diba? Like we've been building on a lot of this, and people really have to invest their time, and I'm very, very grateful. So we have Alma, we have Rafi, of course you, Nikki. I'm always grateful for you, and of course we have Shani joining us as support then. And genuinely, everybody here who's really taken the time to listen to what I can share when it comes to well-being. What you don't realize is you have actually allowed me to be at my best in this moment. This is one of the proudest things that I could ever do with my life, and it's really meaningful to me that everybody's listening and really chiming in and really interactive with the process. So we also have Marga. We don't want to miss any other person in the team. I have one of my best friends ever, Patricia, chiming in and thanking our webinar today, and I'm really, really grateful for everybody. So as we kind of cap off our talk for today, no, we can now move on to questions if you have any. No, thank you so much for the people who are saying it's one of the most informative and interactive webinars they've ever attended. So yeah, so let's hear from people. Maybe you have your questions.
Yes. So
Right,
thanks
there
so
you
much,
go.
Gio, for doing that wonderful webinar for us. I really feel that if I had this as a teacher, it would have saved me a lot of heartache to learn there are so many pathways towards well-being and so many things that you can do to enhance it. So thanks so much for your time and your generosity in putting all of that together, Gio.
Of
So for
course,
those who
of
have
course.
questions for Gio, please let us know on Pigeonhole. You could put it on the chat box, or if you want it to be super anonymous, you can even put it on Pigeonhole. You can turn on the camera of your phone and scan that QR code on the screen, or click on the link that our team is posting in the chat box. So lots of love and thanks to you, Gio, from coming from all of our viewers here today. Um, I really believe that if anyone listening here today just took away one thing and practiced it, it would be such a huge thing towards your well-being. So we have one question right
Oh,
now.
I really
So
love
the
this
question is,
question.
aside from
Yeah.
mindfulness, how do we manage negative emotions like sadness, frustration, anxiety, guilt, and grief? What are your thoughts, Gio?
Right. So, what I usually find with managing negative emotions is not so much to identify with control, right? Because managing almost feels like we have to control emotions. So, if we remember what I was just talking about a while ago when it comes to genuine positivity, is that we allow ourselves to feel emotions. So, maybe in a sense, we don't want to control the situation or how we're reacting. But I guess the most important piece when it comes to experiencing negative emotions is acknowledging that we are feeling sadness, frustration, anxiety, guilt, or grief. If any of those moments come up with when it comes to our emotions, acknowledge, and then the best thing that we can actually do for ourselves is to be very concrete with the support that you want to have. No, so what's an example of that? For example, you tell your partner, "Uy, alam mo nalulungkot ako." So, what does your partner do with that? Sometimes we want to think na kailangan kong pasayahin siya, gusto ko tanggalin yung sadness, gusto ko maintindihan yung sadness niya. But in your moment, if you were to really manage your emotions, by you saying, "Uy, nalulungkot ako," dagdagan mo lang ng siguro, but I don't need you to fix my sadness right now. I just want a person to sit with and let me know that everything's okay. Right? Ikaw mismo alam mo kung paano mo matutulungan yung sarili mo. Sometimes it's very difficult. You're not as aware with how you want to be supported. But being able to say right in that moment, whoever you're with or with yourself even, alam mo nakakaramdam ako ng frustration right now or anxiety. And what we can really do in that moment is say, what do I need right now? No, 'di ba? Kailangan ko bang sumigaw? Kailangan ko bang magsulat? manggigil sa notes ko, ganon. Anything that lets you express that emotion is, I think it's very healthy, as long as you're not hurting yourself or you're hurting other people, right? I think those are very healthy ways that we can um, sort of feel negative emotions. We don't want to control emotions. We want to feel emotions. So if in the moment you feel like you have to kind of dampen your emotion, I'm pretty sure that you're very cognizant, or you're very good at knowing na hindi appropriate na magpakita ng emotion sa moment na to, right? So siguro hawakan mo lang siya, but later you still have to go through digesting it. Diba? Binulsa mo yung pagkain. So, bibulsa mo muna yung emotion. Tapos mamaya, pag kaya mo nang mag-digest, may space ka na, pwede mo nang hayaan yung emotion na dumaloy. Diba? Hindi ka pwede malungkot at the moment kasi may hinahandle ka. Di mamaya, kapag nag-isa ka na, pwede ka nang humagulgol kasi you have the space for it already. So yeah, I think it's more important that we remember that it's about feeling emotions. Yeah, being honest with yourself about how you're feeling, and let the emotion take place. Right? We don't want to resist emotions.
Thanks so much for
Thank you.
your
Yeah.
advice na don't suppress
Okay.
it, let it pass through. This one has 8 votes. So I wonder what your thoughts are.
Oh yeah. This is a
How
very
can we
interesting.
convince administrators who do not prioritize mental health to adopt policies that include the well-being of teachers?
Right. This is very tricky, no? Because this is something I was trying to work with in my previous workplace then as an HR associate manager. I really wanted us to prioritize mental health, well-being, and it's quite a tricky place. But what has always been outstanding for people who are able to execute it, because Nikki, I'm pretty sure you're also aware of the schools when you were studying in Melbourne or in New Zealand. The schools are able to do positive education. They start with teaching their teachers how to build positivity, well-being, prioritizing mental health. And what it actually shows is that when administrators are very much concerned with prioritizing mental health and the well-being of people, what really happens is that everybody's performance increases. 'Di ba? Remember our slide a while ago? Better mood, better health, better attendance, and better performance. Those are very sensible things to have in your workplace. More creativity and more resources. 'Di ba swak sa teacher na may ganun, 'di ba? So in general, sobrang daming benefits na pwede nating i-prioritize when it comes to mental health. And that's, I think, is the most convincing argument for administrators to even start considering it. Na when we make sure that the teachers are at their best, they are able to give their best. Right? It's that idea. Is there anything that comes up for you, Nikki, when you read this question?
I definitely agree with that. Na if you start talking about the benefits of well-being, who would want to turn away from it? Because sometimes people think that it's they want to focus on the bottom line instead, or like results, yung NAT scores ng mga students or yung mga enrollees, ganyan. All of those are attached to the well-being of the teachers who support the whole school and the students. So if your administrators care for those results, then like what Gio said, it's time to take a look at well-being. And there's so much research on it, right, Gio, that they can show
Exactly,
as proof.
exactly. Oo. I mean, yung recent na ni-share ko about the ano ba yung effect ng pandemic sa mga teachers, no? Those are very clear concerns for administrators na exhausted yung mga teachers natin ngayon. Hindi naman, syempre, okay lang naman maging exhausted kasi ganun talaga yung panahon. Pero wala tayong gagawin, right? I mean, we have to do something about it. It can't be okay that we're always just exhausted mode. So we really have to prioritize mental health. And I guess for all of you joining us today, you know how important it is, right? Now you understand gaano ka ba importante ang well-being for your performance as a teacher, and just valuing being human beings in general, diba? So yeah, I think there's so many arguments to be made when it comes to convincing administrators what to prioritize for policies.
Thanks for that, Gio. Let's take another question. One person said, I tend to overthink at night. That's why I do not get enough sleep. Do you have tips for avoiding overthinking and getting
Wow, that's a tough question because I also have to deal with that overthinking and getting good sleep. No, it's really difficult. I think it's a lot of work. But if we were to keep in mind my tip a while ago, some is better than none, and lots is better, and more is better than some. No, if we keep that idea in mind, what is the minimum commitment that I can make so that I can support better sleep? I think is the question that you can answer. So if it means na kailangan wala ng gadgets by 10 p.m., how much of a rule does that really stick with you? Maybe you're not following that. Maybe if you start following that for once a day or once every other day, baka magkaroon na ng moments na ay naantok pala ako. Or baka kailangan bago ka matulog, you journal all your overthinking thoughts, right? Na parang hindi na ako pwede mag-overthink mamaya pag matutulog na ako. So all the overthinking, I'll do it now in my journal. So you allow yourself to feel those overthinking, yung lahat nung wino-worry mo or lahat ng pumapasok sa isip mo. Write it all down, let your mind go through the process, and then maybe when you want to sleep, your brain's already like, oh, I've done the overthinking. It's time to shut down, right?
I love
I
that.
think that's how I can really best respond to that.
I'll try that out later. 9 o'clock to 9:30 is overthinking hour. Um,
Yeah, okay lang mag-overthink actually. Oh, kasi I mean, kung hindi mo naman din wala kang harm na ginagawa while you're overthinking, I think it's pretty fine.
we have another question. Nakaranas
Okay.
bullying about my mental health. I was labeled as ibang takbo ng utak kaya ayaw kong kausapin. Lumayo ako sa kanila. I felt more safe and okay. I wonder if napatawad ko na ba sila. What do you think about this situation? Do
This
you
is
have
a
bullying on
very
mental health?
this is a very intricate situation because in this case, no, I hear that you're coming from a place of um, remorse siguro or resentment na because these were people that made you feel different, 'di ba? And that's why you created a space where you wanted to feel like you're no longer feeling resentment towards them, that you're okay na may mental health ka. Because I totally hear that you're definitely okay with yun nga yung may problem yung mental health mo, and you want to create a space where you can navigate that territory properly. And if it comes to answering the question, napatawad ko na ba sila? I think in a sense, yes. So I'm a person who really values forgiveness, and that's one of my strongest characters, no, character qualities that I have. And for me, forgiveness can also happen by releasing them in my thoughts about kung hindi na ako nakakaramdam ng galit sa kanila, feeling ko napatawad ko na sila. Nakalaya na ako, 'di ba? I feel safe and okay because I'm no longer thinking about them. And maybe you'll only realize the genuine answer to kung napatawad mo na ba sila if they start chatting you up or you meet them suddenly in person. Do the same feelings come when they talk to you now, or have you given them trust to be different? Maybe that's a source of forgiveness for you na oh, pwede ko na pala siyang pagkatiwalaan, or I'm actually okay letting them say whatever because I feel like they're coming from a genuine place and they're no longer coming from a place of iba yung takbo ng utak mo kaya ayaw kitang kausapin. Diba? So I think so in a sense, you can only be the one to tell yourself na napatawad mo sila. But if you want some guidance on how you can tell, one is maybe right now in this moment, you totally forgiven them. But forgiveness is also fragile. And you can also take back forgiveness. Sabi mo, napatawad mo sila, tapos may ginawa na naman silang mali. Di ba? Panibagong patawad na naman yung kailangan mo. What do you think about this situation, Nikki?
Yeah, it's a tough one. And I think surround yourself with the people who support your well-being. So if until now those people who bullied you are not supportive of your well-being, I think it's okay to forgive them but not associate with them anymore. So it doesn't mean that if you forgive them, everything's going to go back to the way that it used to be. If they're not supportive of your well-being, then you can just forgive them and let that go, and then associate with people who matter and care about you. Thanks for answering this question, Gio. They
Sure,
were
of
really
course, of
interesting
course.
questions.
Yeah, I really love the questions. And I love that some people are actually responding in chat to kind of also answer the questions. No, I think one, I just want to highlight siguro si Noel for saying na with the sleep problem a while ago, he says that a good sleep needs exercise and sometimes you need to exhaust some your remaining calories in the day to have a good sleep. I totally believe that too. Na if whatever nervous energy you have for the day and just by stretching, it really helps to like release all of that.
Yeah,
So
great tip.
yeah.
Thanks, Noel. And so everyone, please read also the chat box about other wise words coming from our participants.
Yeah, ang daming wise sa participants natin today, Nikki. It's very nakakataba ng puso na everybody's either really synthesizing the what I'm talking about really well or they're giving very wise responses to. Yeah.
In
Okay.
addition to that, Marjorie also said, no, be mindful of your food. So I think Gio, you can also learn from this one, no? Test it out since Gio's also having a hard time sleeping as well. The some
Ooh,
food
okay.
now, so maybe it's worth trying, right?
So kailangan magsaging, boiled eggs, and milk before bedtime. Hindi ba ako uututin nito, Nikki?
Oh, no.
Parang ganun yung medyo masama ata yung combination. But I mean, if it really is backed by science, I might as well fart myself to sleep. Okay lang yun.
We have another question here. One person asked, we know that being professional is always expected as a teacher. Is there a way or a strategy on how to manage emotions in class if there are any unfortunate things that would happen?
Mm, I see. Okay. Um, I can totally hear that the priority in this question is how can I be respectful as a teacher and to maintain that relationship as a teacher to my students if unfortunate things happen. I think a lot of it is how much of the context here plays out into our reactions. What I mean by that is um, I think in a moment where you want to be, there are moments kasi that vulnerability is accepted as professional pa din, right? I think a while ago, my example was kahit medyo mangiyak-iyak na ako talking about my gratitude, it's not taking away from my professionalism being able to show my genuine heart for my mom when I was thanking her. So in an unfortunate situation where things don't happen the way we want it, um, maybe it's now how much of how much of the emotion are you willing to let out, but some of it has to come through, right? Because if you're totally repressing your anger, um you might be caught in the moment na bigla kang napatigil, 'di ba? Parang siguro like there's a text na may emergency sa bahay and you don't want to worry about that, but obviously you can't really teach because that's going to be playing in the back of your head or you're going to really have a difficult time managing that. Maybe it's excusing yourself for a minute from class to be able to just like take a big exhale and be like really experience the emotion, or if hindi talaga kaya, or maybe like I said a while ago, yung example natin na maybe in that moment you need to repress and let yourself feel the emotions after the situation, no? So I think when you're coming from a place of stress, mahirap talagang solusyonan or to be very productive in the moment. And I think one of the answers from the chat is also a good way to practice. Just breathe. Katulad nung experience ng vitality natin. If our body is feeling nervous, your mind is going to be nervous. Or if our body is feeling stressed, hindi siya relax, hindi siya makahinga, our mind will also feel the same way. So maybe just, take a deep breath, take a moment to say to inhale and exhale. Now I think those are quick ways that you can kind of manage an emotion in a situation where you're not exactly able to show it. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the mindfulness tip that you shared earlier, Gio. I think sometimes people might have this view na mindfulness is when you are on grass and when it's quiet, when the moment is peaceful. But actually mindfulness is extra important in stressful situations, especially in a classroom na I've experienced like tatalikod lang ako and then pag talikod ko ulit, like someone's bleeding already, someone punched someone, someone threw a broom at someone. So those are really difficult circumstances na um that requires a lot of mindfulness, because I think if you're not mindful you wouldn't be able to have that presence of mind to do immediately what needs to be done, like attending to that student who is hurt or maybe managing the classroom. I also like what Anna Beatrice shared, na she, like what you said earlier, na Gio, you gave a tip na let the emotion pass. So Anna Beatrice is gonna be really honest and say like, I feel frustrated by something, and then she'll express what she needs to ask for. So you being honest na something they're doing is not productive, not helpful. So you actually saying like, I am disappointed in whatever that unfortunate circumstance is, and then asking your students what you need. So you can say what I need right now is everyone to sit down, everyone to calm down, and that mindfulness gives you the presence of mind to let that feeling pass and express it, and then ask for what you need.
Yeah, I think that's very insightful, Nikki, and si Bea ba from the comments, no, from the chat. I definitely agree with that practice, no, and that's definitely helpful that you would agree or able to relate, because yun nga, you've had those experiences as a teacher. So wonderful tip. I think practicing mindfulness in the moment will just help you, ask for the self care that you need in that moment, and to really address the situation properly.
Yeah, so I think this is our last question for today. Hopefully, we were able to cover enough questions to also touch on the other things that you asked. We're really grateful that you joined us today. We just want to say we're going to drop the link to the post evaluation in the chat box. When you answer that, you will then get an e-certificate. The form closes in 30 minutes, so please answer it as soon as this Zoom session ends. And please do follow us on Facebook, on facebook.com/positive workplaces PH, because we're always giving free webinars like this every month. We always have 3. So as a preview for the next month, we're actually focusing on NGO workers. So the nonprofit sector, we have like amazing experts who will be joining us, including someone who's also coming from LA as well. And you'll find more details in our Facebook page. And if you wanted to catch this webinar again, let's say you really loved it, you want to share it with your co-teachers, but they're not here, we're posting it on YouTube. Please go to our YouTube, subscribe, youtube.com/positive workplaces. And all of our webinars that we've streamed are actually going to show up here. So before we finally close, Gio, what last words do you want to say to our participants who are watching right now?
Right. First off, genuinely thank you to everybody. I see a lot of my friends also joining the call and really interacting with a lot of the participants. Now they're also giving their insights. Everybody has been very insightful and really, really wise when it comes to navigating our well-being and understanding what it really means. No? And I just want to also be able to wish you all that, in at least for the moment that we shared together, we were able to create the space of self-compassion, more self-awareness, and so that we can support more self-care, more well-being in our life. And I genuinely wish everybody to stay safe and healthy and to live happy and easy. All right. That's all that I have to say, Nikki.
And thanks so much, Gio. Gio, you're one of the examples for me of the people who really breathe and live out positive psychology. And you've been such a role model for me. I'm so grateful that you took the time to share all of this with everyone here today. We're getting a lot of thank yous in the chat box. And to everyone here who watched, your well-being really matters. I hope you got to take away at least one thing. Please do listen to the tips that Gio shared, and take good care of yourselves, everyone. Have a good day ahead. Thank you so much.